This is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you today. We're here in historic area of Santa Rosa, California. We're here for a very important reason. I want to show you guys an excellent example of growing food in your front yard. Now, there's many houses here, and most of them actually are not growing food, and many of them actually look well manicured like this one here. And you know, I think just lawns are not a good use of the space, but growing food definitely is. And there's an amazing example of what you can do in your front yard, and it's at this house right over here. So let's head across the street and show you guys what's growing on. As we're walking up, you can see here we got the street, then we got the sidewalk, and there's a little patch of area between that. And you know, they planted some new fruit trees here, as well as some sunflowers next door. They had some pre-existing oak trees that looked like they may be kind of on their way out, something like that. So what they've done, they basically took some string, tied some string up to it, and basically tied the string to the oak tree on the other side, and they made a nice, awesome grapevine. So they're growing some grapes here, and here's the grapes right here, man. This is an excellent use, growing this in a espalier style, in a plane as like a living fence in front of their house. Excellent use of space. I like this a lot, and I love the grapes. Hopefully they planted some wine grape varieties, because those are the best eating type grapes, because they not only get sweeter, but they have unique flavors that, you know, are imparted into the wine if you're fermenting them. First, I want to show you guys in this area, you know, you don't have to build raised beds to have a front yard garden. You could literally do what they're doing here. They're pretty much ignoring the grass. It's getting brown, no big deal with that. But what they are doing is that they're planting things in the grass and maybe enriching the soil in certain areas. Looks like they put down some compost, and in this area they got a whole bunch of lemon cucumbers growing. And you know, they're just letting it sprawl all over the lawn to take over the lawn, and this is actually done fairly nicely. They also have a little fruit tree here planted and a nice tall sunflower plant. Over in this area, they got a whole bunch of tomatoes. They're using some basically some inexpensive, these are like about $1 or $2 at the Home Depot, some pieces of 1x2, construction grade 1x2, into like a teepee style to make trellising for their tomatoes that are pushing 6 feet tall now. And looks really good. Here's another really good example. You can kind of see the kind of system they're using. They're just using these 1x2s, like a little teepee tied up, and they're tying their tomatoes right up to it. Here's an excellent use of space right here. Once again, more grapevines growing vertically that they're trellising. And then even in the bottom of the container of the grapes, here they got 3 heads of lettuce growing as well. I like that a lot. So even if you have a small amount of space, like a little pot, you could grow a lot of stuff. Just grow it vertically. So they're using vertical and also just letting things sprawl out if they don't want to develop the area. For example, here they have a huge like pumpkin squash plant, and this is just sprawling over the whole front yard area. Now, walking up their front walkway, you know, I like that it's actually lined on both sides of me with 2 large sunflowers. Now, it'd be nicer if the sunflowers were directed out. This one's pointed back and that one's pointed the other way, but I like that a lot. And as you walk up the front walkway to the front door, you can see they have all these beautiful pepper plants, you know, just dug up. Once again, they're just digging up the lawn and planting pepper plants about every foot, and that's actually a really nice spacing to make literally a pepper hedge. That's all edible. Over on this side of the yard, looks like they've done the more conventional thing and built some raised beds, and they're just using standard redwood fencing and some 2x6s, 2x4s on the corners, and some small snakes pounded in. And it looks like they've enriched with the nice Sonoma compost, and they have things like cilantro and peppers and chard and mustard greens and collard greens and some broccoli actually that's getting some bug damage. Over on this side, they got an older raised bed. Looks like they've been growing in this for a while. Looks like they got some chard here that has some leaf minors, some broccoli going to flower, and even some basil growing on. Finally, in this section, they just have another area with no raised bed, and they just basically dug up the lawn and probably enriched with some compost and other nutrients for the soil to make it fertile, and planted some stuff. The message today is that, you know, you could literally grow food on a shoestring. You don't need a lot of money to build a big raised bed system like I did in my yard that looks all neat and tidy. You can just do it, you know, make a couple raised beds and just grow over your lawn. The main thing is to start growing some food today. That's definitely what they're doing here, and they're doing quite a good job I hope to come back to this place in the wintertime, and hopefully I'll see a bountiful winter garden as well. So once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep on growing.